Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And also Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say today is a beautiful March the 13th, 2017. And also thank you so much to all of our listeners in Latin America. So bienvenidos to you, as well as across the pond and Paris, France, as well as London, England. And of course, Big C, you know the USA beat Canada in a baseball game in the World Baseball Tournament. So I hope we still have world peace with Canada, Big C. But there's no one I love more than you good old boys in the USA. How's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C? Yeah.
We had a weird, chilly day down here in the South, Charlton, but, we're getting all excited about the NCAA, men's tournament, Charlton, Bracket Island came out yesterday on Sunday. They got, the tournament has expanded to 68 teams. I remember as a young man, Charlton, where 32 was the tournament. Now
Yeah.
we're up to 68 trying to get down to that final one at the University of Phoenix Stadium out in Arizona.
Well, it seems like, Big C, the more teams you get involved, I think the more the sponsors want to get involved, and they're even getting people sponsored, the 68 teams. And so, it really gets exciting when you get down to the Sweet 16. But what I do like about it, coming here to the Golden One Center tonight here in downtown Sacramento, California, for the NBA Orlando Magic and the Sacramento Kings. They'll be tipping off tonight at 7:30. But they're also hosting NCAA tournament here in Sacramento. And I know down south you guys are really Big C, on the college sports. But out here, it feels magical, even though we don't have a Northern California team in it. Is this something that you always experience down south, especially be covering the SEC, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you always get at least one or two SEC teams in the tournament. You get a lot of ACC tournaments, Charlton, and you're sitting there looking at the Southeast.
Yeah.
So really the South is covered when you look at North Carolina, when you look at Duke, you look at Wake Forest. You look at teams of that nature. Florida has won the tournament a couple times, Charlton, out of the SEC. So there's been some representation. Tennessee has gone deep in the tournament in the past.
Yeah.
Kentucky has won several tournaments, Charlton, over the years. So the SEC has been a vulnerable opponent in the tournament. And, the thing about it, Charlton, it's a one-and-done game.
Yeah.
Everybody's excited. Everybody's on pins and needles. You have to put in optimum performance or you're going home.
Oh, definitely. In fact, when you look at the East, and they have Villanova, last year's defending national champion, they're back at 31-3 on this season, so they're going to make some noise, going into the tournament, Big C. Also, when we look out west, Gonzaga, they're 32-1, the number one seed in the West. And I know Gonzaga has not made it to the Final Four, but they've made it to the West Coast Conference Championship game 20 years in a row, Big C. But the competition's not the same, even though they did beat Arizona this year. And over in the Midwest, I know you like the Kansas Jayhawks and their history. They're 28-4. They could have a good run coming up in the tournament. And then in the South, you have probably the strongest bracket. You have North Carolina, the number one seed, and Kentucky, number 2. Ironically, they have UCLA, the number 3 seed in the South, and they're ranked number 3 in the country. So how do they drop the number 3 seed in the South if they're number 3 in the country, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the thing that we touched on. Why does the NCAA send teams all across the country? Yes, you have fans everywhere.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be more feasible if you could keep teams reasonably?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fans go to the game, especially the student body, Charlton. That's the thing I think the NCAA misses out more than anything else, is that they don't allow the students. When you look at any college arena and you see the crazy actions of the students, Charlton, that are so much a part of it, inspiring that whole team, or even, causing nerves with the visiting team, Charlton, that's something that's missed for the most part in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
It's hard, UCLA versus the South bracket.
Yeah.
You're talking about getting up going 2,500 miles from home.
Yeah.
The average student doesn't have that much money. I know when you were in college, you
Yeah, that's funny. Well,
you just can't do it.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, they drew that bracket here in Sacramento, but you think about it, they have their first game is going to be against the Kansas State Wake Forest winner, but they're also against teams like Kentucky. You know, they have Kentucky, which is a very dominant program, 29-5, number 2 seed. Why are they making Kentucky, travel as far away as well, Big C? But, we can't be upset about everything. I know Syracuse, Jim Boeheim, he's upset. They have 14 losses. In my opinion, 14 losses doesn't really get you in. They were 18-14. That's not what you want to send to the tournament. Maybe some of those losses were against top teams, but what does 18-14 look like to you, Big C? Yeah.
You got to give them some credence right there. You think about how many teams in the tournament that were not in the top 20. So they do have a little wiggle room there when you talk about that. And you look at some of these teams, if you can win a conference championship, Dalton, you can be a 500 team throughout the season. You win a conference championship, you have an automatic berth into the NCAA tournament. So it's not always fair. There's some teams that have been left out, Dalton. There was one team that was 28-4.
Yeah.
That's out of the tournament. And you wonder how can the people picking these teams leave a team that's 28-4 out. And the only loss that they had was in their conference to Wichita State.
Yeah.
So you have one conference loss. You're 17-1 in your conference, and you can't make the tournament, and you're 28-4 on the season. So I think there's a lot of biases from time to time, and you got to get certain teams in, Charlton, because of their history.
Yeah.
You know that they would travel, but I think any team would travel if you get in there for the first time. The enthusiasm of a university and its student body and alumnus will bring people to the game if you put them in the right bracket.
Well, I think they have Oregon. They're going to be playing against Rhode Island because that's a traveling across the country. That's going to be a game up in Sacramento. And I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And I know Big C, I just want to say, my heart goes out to you, man, because your car's been so clean with all this rainy weather you guys have had back south. What's going on with the weather, Big C?
Well, I'm having a hard time keeping my baby money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny, Big C. Yeah, I understand. Let the man get up and do something for a change. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up a few things. And, we are the number one sports show in the universe because we talk about everything in Big C. And I just want to bring up the fact that POTUS has yet to come out and say that President Obama wiretapped him at Trump Tower, Big C. I'm sure they had cameras, but they weren't the kind that came from the FBI or the White House, Big C. And even though he hasn't retracted that, I'm proud of John McCain for saying, wait a minute, either put up or shut up. And he's saying that to his own Republican Party, Big C. Your thoughts on the great John McCain?
Well, today was the day that they were supposed to produce evidence of alleged action.
Oh, yeah.
By the former president. But, the Trump administration asked the Department of Justice for more time, to prepare a better lie than what they told.
Yeah.
It's like Sean Spicer saying, well, you have to understand, we didn't say that President Obama went up and tapped his phone personally.
Yeah.
He said that, there's action and there's ways that it could occur.
Yeah.
His spokespeople are trying to backtrack from the lie. Kellyanne Conway is talking about, well, I saw the news story where you could do it through the phone, you could do it through the television, you could do it with microwaves.
Microwaves? Well, hold on. If it's done through microwaves, Rush Limbaugh eats a lot of microwave popcorn, Big C. He would have already broken that story, Big C. Your thoughts? Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
It's like, how do you believe the president is ever telling the truth?
Yeah.
And they were trying to say his statements were different, and all you have to do is go back to the tweets.
Yeah.
Those tweets were his wisdom. The problem with the tweets that he had, Charlton, he wrote it down.
Yeah.
You can't defend that. It's not like somebody made a broad alleged statement.
Yeah.
You put that in writing.
Yeah. Well, I tell you.
Your lies when you're doing this, and you're the leader of the free world in the United States, and I don't care how many people are Trump backers.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to say, you got to tell the truth.
Yeah, even when John McCain, probably the most respected Republican since Ronald Reagan, is saying quit lying, at some point in time, you think Paul Ryan would get involved and get in line at least with John McCain.
Well, Paul Ryan said today,
Yeah.
there's no evidence that this occurred.
Yeah, and that.
Because he understands there's a thin line right now that he's walking. That, he doesn't want to bury himself. Matter of fact, Trump had a meeting today with a lot of people talking about Obamacare and how it hurt.
Yeah,
That question came up in the meeting from some of these people who were citizens.
yeah,
What about this wiretapping from President Obama? All of a sudden the room went quiet.
yeah.
It was almost like somebody stepped on a mouse. Everybody said,
Yeah, I understand. Well, ironically, unfortunately, and we cover sports as well as politics and in Hollywood also, but I just want to mention that it was in the Washington Post that Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's right-hand man, he's actually under investigation by the FBI and the Department of Justice for, get this, Big C, he lied about his residences, and also he's in dealing with some voter fraud because you have to be able to vote in the state you live in. So he's under investigation by the FBI. Maybe that's why 46 U.S. justices are fired in one day, Big C. Your thoughts?
well, it has a lot to do with each other. Wherever there's a trail, you can see it because Donald Trump will get rid of people.
Yeah,
He'll get rid of people who can inquire.
yeah,
And these are these judges, these attorneys, these 46 attorneys. And so when you get rid of them, who's going to do the investigation? When you look at Washington, D.C.,
Kellyanne Conway's going to do the investigation from what I just heard out. Breaking news, Big Z. Alternative fact, okay?
presidential staff that Obama had, which was around 4,000 employees, Johnson.
Yeah,
And you look at the current Trump staff, Johnson, which has less than 1,000. Okay? Less than 1,000 people running the United States.
yeah,
People looking at everything that needs to be looked at from legal to public, whatever. It's atrocious because all of these things now slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
He wants no one to be able to investigate his ties to anybody or his staff's ties. So he eliminated everybody.
Well-
He had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to backtrack on these false statements that he made about the previous president because these lies now will come to fruition. And I think what's going to happen with the Justice Department and the FBI is that they're going to have to subpoena people.
yeah. And unfortunately, Big C, you were talking about this even before the holiday season, and it's a shame that our country has gone the way it is. And now even CNN is doing something on Putin. They're calling Putin the most powerful man in the world, and there's still some sources that say that Donald Trump, owns 20% of a Russian bank, and he's gotten several $1 billion from Vladimir Putin. It seems like everybody involved with Trump has something to do with Putin, and he's more concerned with saying the president, the birther movement, and now someone's videotaping him, and here he is owing billions of dollars to Vladimir Putin. That's why he won't say anything wrong to Putin. Your thoughts, and then we'll touch a little bit on the regionals, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when we look at Trump's ties and him not having the disclosure to the American people, which has been part of the political landscape forever, Johnson, that you must disclose it, as well as his staff have not been done disclosure. It was like Rex Tillerson forgetting he had $100 million in his
How much, Big C?
Okay, Rex Tillerson had $100 million in a bank account that he forgot to disclose during his confirmation hearing. It's like, okay, everybody in that you forgot about.
I thought the banks were only in FDIC insured up to $250,000, Big C. Should I add more money to the account? Is that what you're saying?
Where did the $100 million come from? But you forgot about it.
Wow.
That's the key question.
Wow.
We know his relationship with Putin and Russia.
Yeah.
You got $100 million laying there that you forgot about. Somebody put it in your bank account, but yet you haven't shown your tax returns to show where it was produced at, Joe.
Man, they're making so much money. They're gonna probably get some of them good old boys to stop coaching in college basketball and get into the world of politics. And speaking of the world of politics, out here in the West region, we talked about Gonzaga, the Bulldogs. They called them the Zags, being the number 1 seed out of Spokane and Washington. Now, Big C, their record's impressive: 32-1 on the season, 17-1 in their conference, in the West Coast Conference champions. The last time they were in the final, the tournament was 2016. They lost to Syracuse in the round of 16. That was their last appearance and their coach is Mark Few. Now, just your thoughts on a school that's a small program in the Northwest. They're in Pac-12 territory, but they play in a very small conference, even though they have a win over Oregon. How are they starting to get recruits instead of going over to Washington or Washington State? They're going up the road to Spokane. Big C, your thoughts?
We've talked a lot about this, in college sports now. It's because there's so many television sources that everybody can see.
Yeah.
Everybody. It's not limited to the big four conferences any longer, Charlton. It's now nationwide coverage. When you turn on a game, ESPN will put on 4 or 5 games a night.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you're ranked and you're doing well in your conference, you can do that. And you talked about them winning or being in the conference championship 20 straight years.
Yeah.
That has a lot of sex appeal to young players on the West Coast wanting to play. And it's not. Let me give you a little bit about Mark Few.
Yeah.
Mark Few is like Bill Belichick, if you want to put a basketball coach in comparison to a football coach.
Yeah.
He's not going out there getting the blue chippers, Charlton. You don't see any of the Dapper Dandies on his roster at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
What he does is he gets the players that fit his coaching style. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for these egotistical, one-and-done players. He's looking for players who will come in and get an education as well as to hone their basketball skill. And when you look at Gonzaga roster, they feel what you want to see, Charlton.
Yeah. They had Nigel Williams. Yeah, go ahead, Big C. Go ahead.
That takes you a long way, compared to other schools. That's a la Villanova last year.
Yeah.
But what Mark Few does, Charlton, versus all these other conferences, and you look at Washington, you spoke about them.
Yeah.
Right there in the same state. Their top freshman, probably the top freshman in the conference. He's done. He's going to the draft.
Yeah.
So, how do you build a program with kids coming in one and done, two and done, and you really can't establish anything long term? So that's what Mark Few has brought in the players to buy into.
Yeah.
That's why Gonzaga's had the consistency, Charles.
Well, Nigel Williams, girls, he's a guard at 6'3", junior, averaging 16.9 points a game and 5.7 rebounds per game and 4.8 assists. And we'll jump out to the East, Big C, because, that's the region of the country where most people think that basketball is the best played, right? Just like you think if you're looking for the faster states, you go down south to Florida, then Texas and California. But you look at Villanova, last year's national champion, on a last-second shot, arguably one of the greatest Final Four games ever, Big C. And they're out of Villanova, Pennsylvania. They're at 31-3, 15-3 in the Big East Conference champion, 2016 national champs. Jay Wright, you talked about the $2,000 suits that Jay wears. Big C, I think he wears $2,000 suits, but they can't pay these players. Your thoughts on Villanova? I go back to Rollie Massimino. This team is consistently one of the top programs in the country, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, being in the Eastern Seaboard, there's a lot of good talent out there.
Yeah.
And this was all part of the Big East Conference. Villanova used to be a part of it. And which was probably, under Dave Gaddis, the best conference in college basketball.
Yeah.
Because if you look at all those teams that were in that conference, those teams were consistently in the NCAA tournament, talking in the Sweet 16, Final Four,
Yeah.
year after year. And so they haven't lost that history and luster at Villanova. And you talk about Gonzaga being on a small campus.
Yeah.
Villanova's really no different, Jonathan. When you go to Villanova and you got a 6,000 seat on-campus arena,
Yeah.
you're not blowing people away, for our size of the facility. And the same thing with Duke.
Yeah.
You go to Cameron Indoor Arena, you're talking 5,000-6,000 people in there, Charles.
Well, see, Duke,
yeah. It's not a mega arena.
Yeah, and that's very good. Duke is number 2 seed in the Eastern region, Big C, behind Villanova. And, of course, they're in Durham, North Carolina. They're 27-8 on the season, 11-7 in their conference. And the ACC champion, last appearance was 2016. They lost to Oregon in the Sweet 16. That Coach Krzyzewski, you always can't say about him, 90-27 in 32 appearances. He's won for the USA Olympics basketball team. He has as much respect as any coach out there in the world of coaching. Reminds me so much when you had guys like, out here on the West Coast, everybody loved Wooden, but I think he's the new John Wooden, Big C. Your thoughts on Duke again? It seems like the only thing that changes at Duke are the players, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Duke going into the tournament right now, Charlton actually is the tournament favorite.
Yeah.
Vegas has him as the favorite. So, Krzyzewski knows consistency. Even though they had those losses on the season,
Yeah.
they're a consistent team, and they proved that in the tournament when they knocked off North Carolina.
Yeah.
North Carolina was heavily favored in the conference championship tournament, and in the semifinals they met. But Duke is a stay-fast team.
Yeah.
They're consistent about what they do on the floor. They don't get panicky. They don't get rushed. And when you can go out and beat a quality program like North Carolina, that was the third time they played each other.
Oh, yeah.
It shows what you can do in the tournament. It shows that you announce yourself as being one of the top teams in the tournament. And the plus that they have, Charlton, is that they're not a number one seed, so they can sneak through the tournament.
Yeah, and that's very true. And talking about them not being a number one seed, we'll jump back over to the West Big C. The number 2 seed, the Arizona Wildcats, it goes way back in the day when they had so many great players coming out of the Pac-12 conference. Of course, they're in Tucson. Their record is 30-4 in the season, 16-2 as the Pac-12 champions. Their last appearance was 2016, and they lost to Wichita State in the round of 64. Now, Sean Miller is 17-9 in 9 appearances in the Dance Big C. But your thought that not Lute Olson of old, but Arizona always seems to be good enough to get out of the Pac-12. But it's been a while since they made their trip down to the Final Four. Big C, your thoughts? Yeah.
You got Oregon, UCLA, Arizona, teams that have been dominant in the top 10 for the most part of the year.
Yeah.
And this is a rebirth of that conference from years back.
Yeah.
In Arizona, Lute Olson built that program down in the desert, but now they've really expanded upon it. They've had consistent players at Arizona over the decades, Charlton, but now with the rebirth, and like we said, with the balance of power.
Lots of balance, yeah.
Arizona really has an excellent chance to make some waves.
Well, Big C, let me ask you as we jump across to the Midwest region, and I know you know the Kansas Jayhawks, all they do is win. They're like DJ Caliber, all they do is win no matter what, Big C. But they're the number 1 seed in the Midwest region. The Jayhawks out of Lawrence, Kansas. How do you recruit kids to Kansas? I was asking you that same question about, Gonzaga, Spokane, Washington. They're 28-4 on the season, 16-2 in their conference. And the Big 12 at large, their last appearance was 2016. And they lost to Villanova in the Elite Eight. Bill Self, all he does is win 40-17 in 18 appearances. They see that Kansas program has so much talent throughout the years, just like Duke. All they seem to do is change players. Big C, your thoughts? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I saw that. They're trying to get Dorothy's shoes, huh? Yeah.
Bill Self is doing something right. Larry Brown built that program decades back. He had the great Danny Manning in there, and they won an NCAA title.
Oh, yeah.
And Self has come in and kept that program going. They had one point this year, Charlton, I think they had a 54-game home winning streak that they ended up having broken.
Yeah.
It shows the consistency, in Frog Island Fieldhouse. Those players come in there and they play. They got a couple of great players in Mason and Jackson.
Yeah.
But the coach, what Self does in game management.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that gets overlooked in the NCAA tournament. People want to look at the players and really elaborate on them. But it comes down to the coaches, Charlton, in game management, the experience of a Krzyzewski, of a Self.
Yeah.
These coaches make a difference. It's like even in the West Coast, you got Steve Alford out there at UCLA. This is a guy who understands game management as a player.
Yeah.
And now as a coach.
Well, yeah, that's very well said. And you look at Kansas, they've cruised to the 13th consecutive Big 12 regular season title. Very impressive. I want to jump out to the South before we come back and look at a few more teams. North Carolina, the Tar Heels, you know how heartbreaking it was to fall to a team like Villanova last year when they had just tied it up with about 4 seconds left. Of course, the Tar Heels out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, got to go back to the great Dean Smith. They're 27-7, 14-4 in the ACC, and they're an ACC at-large team. Of course, last appearance last year in 2016, they lost to Villanova. One of the better finals games I've ever seen, Big C. Head coach Roy Williams, who's been all over the map. He's 70-24 in 26 appearances in the NCAAs. Big C, just the history of North Carolina, Michael Jordan, Doherty, James Worthy, the list goes on. Your thoughts on North Carolina?
Well, when you talk about Roy Williams, he was at Kansas prior to Bill Self.
Yeah.
So he took over, and he came to North Carolina when the late Dean Smith retired and came back to his alma mater as a coach. And he has not lost a stride. He has won championships there at Charleston. He has constantly kept the program consistent, and when you look at the players that he has in the program now, you've got Jackson, who's player of the year in the conference. You got Meeks, who's the top front liner.
Yeah.
But North Carolina, you said, they had one of the greatest Final Fours last year against Villanova, getting down to that last second three-point shot. That's the consistency of the program. Roy Williams mentally knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And, he knows how to move the ball up and down the floor.
Yeah.
When he was in college, that's when they ran that four corners offense, a lot of slowdown.
Yeah.
But he, as a coach, has transitioned to an up-tempo game.
Yeah.
Which has made North Carolina very attractive to great talents going in there. And, when you look at these great programs, Shelton, year after year, they keep finding these diamonds in the rough.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to go play for these schools. You wonder how they can always get this top talent, but these top coaches, Shelton, know how to persuade these great young players to come to their university.
Well, I think the way they're getting top talent is they have microwaves in most people's homes, and so they can spy on these families through microwaves, Big C. That's what Kellyanne Conway said. So everybody, if you want to make a team, your recruiting tape is stand in front of the microwave and shoot some hoops. I want to say this segment is sponsored by Big C Sports. Sports is a billion-dollar industry, and girls and boys sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. With Big C Sports, we cover all the sports from pro to college as well as high school. And if you need insurance, you have to go through Big C Sports through Bid and Mark. We're in all 50 states, and we get you covered. Find out by following Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. Also, tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Charlton on Twitter. Big C, we'll go down to some of the seats that are in the top three as we close out the program today, heading over to Arco. Actually, Arco, I keep saying Arco, but it's Golden One Center downtown Sacramento. It's here the first year of existence. Arco was around for about 25 years. But I want to get your thoughts. Kentucky, the number 2 seed, the Wildcats out of Lexington, they're 29-5. 16-2 in the SEC, your neck of the woods. In their last appearance, 2016, they lost to Indiana in round 32. Coach John Calipari, known as the one-and-done coach for college basketball, Big C, but he is 48-16 in 17 appearances. How does Calipari keep doing it, Big C? I know we talked about microwave recruits, but your thoughts on how he really does it, Big C?
Well, he's a coach. He's intense.
Yeah.
And when you look at things that don't go his way, you can feel it in a broadcast, it's being there in the arena.
Yeah.
But, the knowledge of the game that a Calipari, possesses, Charlton, you think about his tenure prior to getting to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And since he's been in Kentucky, he put that program back on the top of the heap, when he left Memphis and came there. Memphis was a top-flight program. But, he brings the players in, and you wonder how he does it over and over with these one-and-done, Charlton. He really doesn't have a chance to establish a program with players 3 and 4 years there.
Yeah.
He's let so many of them leave. But, it just goes to his coaching ability that you can develop these players over the course of a season that will get you back into the tournament, to get you to be competitive, to get you on a run towards potential national championship. That's John Calipari.
Well, the next team out here that has a South region, even though they're on the West Coast, I want to look at the UCLA Bruins. They haven't won it since '95, where they have the great Tyus Atney, and we know they've had Kevin Love played there, Russell Westbrook played there. Probably the most famous person to ever play at UCLA is Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of course, as well as Reggie Miller. They are 29-4, which is a very strong record. They beat Kentucky on the road earlier in the year. 15-3 in the Pac-12. They're an at-large bid. Last appearance, 2015. They lost. Of all teams, Gonzaga beat them out of the West Coast, Big C. But they have a kid named Lonzo Ball who's just a star of the team. And obviously, the father of Lonzo thinks that he's going to be, first-round NBA draft pick, maybe go first or second. But here's a kid that's 6'6". He's a freshman averaging 14.9 points a game, 6.2 rebounds, and 7.8 assists. Has a lot of what you call it factor, Big C. Your thoughts on the great UCLA, and then getting there again. They used to be a staple back in the days of Wooden. Your thoughts, Big C?
They used to be, Charles, but the thing I look at with Ball is that I think getting into the tournament might be too much for him mentally.
Yeah.
But he's going to try to prove to the national stage that he's this great player that everybody's heard these things about. I mean, he's a player that's not even averaging 15 points a game, Charlton.
Yeah.
Leading scorers in the nation. And you got players up and up to 20 being the leading scorers in the nation. So he's one of those players, Charlton, that I see come this tournament, that really trying to force shot and make things happen for him. And I think he'll be more of a detriment in the tournament than he will be an asset for UCLA, because you're also going to hear his father chirping, which will hurt. You got a great coach in Steve Alford.
Yeah.
Sometimes parents just have to sit back and enjoy the game. You can't always live vicariously through your children.
Yeah.
Because once he becomes a pro, I think he'll tune his dad out completely.
Yeah.
Because he'll be out of his dad's reach. Hopefully he'll get out of Los Angeles, whoever drafts him. Hopefully it's not the Lakers. Because I don't know if he'll be an asset to the Lakers, because most of these kids try to stay in their hometown.
Yeah.
Struggle in the NBA.
Yeah, too much distraction, it seems, Big C. And when you talk about Steve Alford, he's 19. Actually, he's 9-9 in the tournament in 9 tournament appearances, Big C. I want to jump back across the country, and I would be remiss if we did not talk about one of the coaches that's arguably the best coach in college basketball. I'm going to say the Louisville Cardinals. Of course, they're in Louisville, Kentucky. They're 24-8 on the season, 12-6 in the ACC. They're an ACC at-large bid. Their last appearance was 2015, where they lost to Michigan State in the Elite Eight. Now, Coach Rick Pitino, obviously they've had some scandal over the past couple of years at Louisville, but he continues to right the ship with this program. Pitino is 53-18 in 20 appearances in March Madness. Your thoughts on the great Rick Pitino, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you really got to think hard the last time they did not make the Sweet 16. I know they didn't make it last year.
Yeah.
But, in prior years, the last time they had not made it under Rick Pitino was 2010.
Yeah.
So this is the team, when Pitino gets to the Final Four, to the March Madness, he knows what he's doing. You think about it, he won a championship all over at Kentucky. He took Providence when he was coaching there to the Sweet 16, actually the Final Four, with Marvin Barnes. And now, he has this Louisville team that you really don't hear a lot about during the season.
Yeah.
But now here it is. Here's a guy who knows how to get his team to that point.
Yeah.
And once you get there, that's when a team like this has become dangerous.
Yeah.
Because Rick Pitino, puts together teams that like to shoot the ball from the outside.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And so when teams are shooting the ball from the outside and firing at their three, Charlton, in a tournament game, if you got a team that sinks 12 or 15 threes, you generally will win that game.
Well, that's a very good point to make, Big C. And just a couple more teams we'll touch on today is Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe. According to Big C, them good old boys down south, I want to take you up to the great state of Oregon. You have the Ducks, known as a football power, but lately it seems like the basketball team is starting to make more national attention. They're 29-5 on the season. Another small market school, 16-2 in the Pac-12. They had a large bid. Last appearance was 2016. They lost to Oklahoma in the regional final when Buddy Hill had a great game for Oklahoma. And Dana Altman is a coach. He's only 9-12 in 12 appearances in the tournament. I know they have some great programs all throughout the country, but this Oregon program, they've challenged UCLA and Arizona as a top Pac-12 program. Big C, your thoughts on Oregon?
Well, I think it's the uniform that they're wearing.
Yeah.
So it's like a fashion show.
Yeah.
You walk out there, but the talent has really increased up there at the University of Oregon, Charlton. Since they built this new arena a couple of years ago and opened it up on campus to Uncle Phil.
Yeah.
Donations. But, this program, like I said, the rise of the pack, when you look at where it's gone to, from where it had been, it had been sort of a dormant conference, and now you have 3 highly ranked teams in the tournament. In Oregon, like you said, gave UCLA and Arizona a run for the conference championship.
Yeah.
So, they have mixed reviews coming into the tournament. This is a team that has shown that it can get hot, Charlton. And if it gets hot at the right time, somebody's going to have a little bit of problem. They got a great forward in Boucher.
Yeah.
So they can go out and put some frontline points on the scoreboard, and that's what you have to look at. If you can score on the front line, everybody talks about guard can control the game.
Yeah.
If you got a front line that's crashing the boards, and Oregon has done that, there's a team that has rebounded well. So they can cause problems just on the boards.
Well, Big C, now we know we're going to cover most of these teams. We'll finish up some more tomorrow. But when I look at the state of college basketball, last year we talked about why is there no pay for any of these college kids. And I know there's a lot of TV money going into this. Over $1 billion will trade hands in what's called now the Sweet 68, Big C, if you can believe that. I guess 64 wasn't enough teams when they can keep paying out. But I just want to ask you your thoughts. Will that be something that they hope goes under the radar? Because we talked about coaches wearing $2,000 suits, and we know because they told us, Big C, okay? They told us whether they were donated or not. And the kids, of course, get a championship hat and a T-shirt. But just want to get your thoughts again, how exciting it is when March Madness shows up. It really makes, to me, college basketball a staple of what it is, because you're having different teams going into different regions of the country. And the fan base, even if they can't travel, is still exciting in the cities that show up to host these games. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, the strength and the joy of March Madness is, like you said, it's competitive. And you most likely will be playing a team that you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And so that's really a test of coaching ability. We know that the players have talent, but we talked about the moxie of certain coaches.
Yeah.
The ability to make adjustments during timeouts, to make adjustments during halftime.
Yeah.
To understand the ebb and flow of games, and that's the biggest part of the tournament. We always talk about the players. We know they're the ones taking the shots.
Yeah.
But who's making the substitutions?
Yeah.
Who's making the key and critical timeout call? That's what you really look at. How do you stop the ebb and flow of teams, on the rush?
Yeah.
And that's what coaches do. To be able to calm down your players when you get to this point of the year, because you'll see when players are struggling.
Yeah.
And you need to bring them over and talk to them, get them reset, refocus, maybe take one or two players out of the lineup, put
Yeah.
somebody in that has not played. All of a sudden, we will find a couple stars in this tournament, Charlton, just came off the bench.
Yeah.
That no one expected. That's the door of March Madness.
Well, Big C, let me ask you one more question before we close out. We hosted the Big C World Series last year with the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and over 100 years between those programs, the Cubs winning a championship, Big C. And now you have, out of Evanston, Illinois, you have the Great Northwestern. They've been playing basketball, Big C, since 1904. Since 1904, and they're finally getting their first chance to dance in the Sweet 68 now, Big C. Your thoughts on what it means to a team like Northwestern that's an academic power, also a football power, but down there in Evanston, Illinois, up in the north, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are so proud of what's been done for the first time at that school, Big C.
Well, not just Evanston, Jonathan. It represents Chicago. It represents the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
And Chicago looks at Northwestern as their team, even though the University of Illinois is right there also, Jonathan.
Yeah.
This is a team, 77 years of NCAA tournaments and never getting a peak.
Yeah.
And now they've arrived. This is such a joyful occasion for the university, the student body. And when you think about it, the coach of this university, Jonathan, Doug Collins, we all know him.
Oh, yeah.
The great announcer, former player, the NBA, played with the 76ers. His son is the coach of Illinois. And his son has that win-all attitude like his dad. His dad was the architect of the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
So being at Northwestern is basically like being at home for his son.
Yeah.
And so for him to get Northwestern into the tournament, you got the proud father looking there, you got the proud university that has always been thought about as academics. Northwestern is like Stanford of the Midwest.
Yeah.
People look at it as a brainiac school and not big on athletics. But the football program has turned around over the past decade. They've been in the Rose Bowl. They've been competitive in the Big Ten Conference. I think they got 15 teams in the conference. So, but you look at the basketball program and to reach the heights of the NCAA tournament. We've talked about the teams that have been left out because the selection committee got it right this time by getting Northwestern in, Charles.
Yeah, and I think that's very well said. Big C, I want to just run down a few games from the NBA tonight, and then we'll close it out with your thoughts on what you're looking forward to. I want to say in the NBA, even though everyone's into the college basketball tournament now, in the NBA tonight we have Charlotte and Chicago. That's going to be a game played in Charlotte. Toronto's a 4-point favorite over Dallas. San Antonio and Atlanta, that game will be in San Antonio. You have Memphis. They're a 4-point favorite over the Greek Freak in Milwaukee. You have Minnesota. They're a 1-point favorite over Washington, which is the number 2 seed right now in the East. Utah, and they're a slight favorite over the LA Clippers. Denver's an 11.5-point favorite over the Lakers, and Sacramento's favored by 1 against Orlando. That's the game I'll be at tonight up here in Sacramento, the Orlando Magic. But Big C, we know college basketball, and this excitement around college basketball is always exciting, especially when you get down to the Sweet 16. The stadiums are usually full. People know where they're going to be so they can plan ahead of time. But just your thoughts on covering this sport for over 40 years. You've seen so many of these March Madness situations. If there is a sleeper team out there, I know people talk about a team that maybe is not seated high at all. It could be someone like a USC Trojans, or it could be someone that no one really expects to win. Any thought in your mind of who might be that sleeper team that comes out this year, Big C?
Well, Charles, there's so many outstanding teams. I think you really can't call anybody a sleeper.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the favorites in the brackets. Like I said earlier, I like Kansas.
Yeah.
I like Kansas with the opportunity to make it to the finals. Make it to the finals, you have a great chance of winning.
Yeah.
But up and down the list, I really would like to see Gonzaga go deeper into the tournament, Charles. I would finally like to see them once at least get to the Elite 8.
Yeah.
To prove their worthiness, because year after year they have these great regular seasons that come down to the tournament. And this is one of the few times they've had a number 1 seed, Charles. So that fears for them as an advantage. They have an opportunity to play a lesser seed, because normally they've been seeding Gonzaga 4 or 5, so they always had a tougher opponent.
Yeah.
But now being a number 1 seed, they'll be playing a number 16. So this will give them an opportunity, Charles, to at least get to the Elite 8. But I like Kansas. Gonzaga can get to the Elite 8. Who knows? They'll make it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So, it's just an exciting time. We all want to get under the Warren Buffett with bandwagon.
Yeah, I'll get on it.
First round winners in all the games. That's $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the good old brother had $100 million in the bank. I think he said $100 million, and the guy he had that much in his account, he couldn't care less about $1 million, Big C. But I'll take it if he won't, Big C. But I just want to tell you, every Monday through Friday at 5:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And also, Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never any excuse for domestic violence. If you see any woman going through that garbage, please call 911 so she doesn't have to deal with it on her own. And as we always tell you on every program, we want to tell you that we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.